Welcome to Mamamia Out Loud, what women are actually talking about on Wednesday, the 30th of July. I'm Holly Wainwright.
I'm Mia Freedman.
And I'm Jessie Stevens.
And what's on our agenda today? Well,
the Australian government's big announcement to ban YouTube for under 16s. That's just happened this morning. Why is the call so controversial and what do we make of it?
And there's a new, slightly more punk rock take on the let them theory. Welcome to FAFO. But first, I've got some scurrilous gossip.
Okay. It's my favourite kind.
Now, I'm not ashamed of the fact that I like to spread a little scurrilous gossip about celebrities. I'm sure there are two surprising couples that are all over the internet today. One of them been knocking around for a few days. I want to see if you think it's the real deal or not. Some corners of the internet, including my own corner of the internet, are very excited at the idea that Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson are a thing.
I'm finding this exhausting.
Really?
Yeah, I think it is the classic. They've just worked together on a movie. They are promoting the shit out of that movie and now the acting doesn't stop when they yell cut.
Well,
the acting continues.
That is very likely true. So just for a little bit of background, Liam Neeson, I find his career so interesting because once upon a time he was like Oscar-nominated, very serious actor, and his whole second act has been action movies where he's taking revenge on someone who killed his wife. That's generally the whole of his thing. But
I
anyway,
find him very charismatic.
Oh, he's so charismatic.
So he's sort of picked up from Harrison Ford, Bruce Willis, that kind of role.
And he's like 73 years old now. Right?
Is he really?
Yeah. And the movie he's promoting with Pammy is the latest sort of remake of the Naked Gun movies. I don't know if you remember those,
Yeah, I do.
from the 90s kind of time, and they're very silly. Like physical comedy, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and also very clever. They're like satire.
Anna Nicole Smith was in the most, so there's always a sort of buxomy blonde. And age-appropriate buxomy blonde for Liam Neeson in the new Naked Gun is Pamela Anderson. So she's 58, he's 73. They have been doing the publicity circuit and they've definitely been leaning into the rumors. Here's a little grab of them on one of the talk shows they were on.
Perhaps you've heard there are a lot of folks on the internet who are talking about this budding love story, and I think we've got some proof. So this is the most immediate evidence. This was from just 4 minutes ago. So what's the deal here? You're both single right now. There's clearly chemistry. Are you two an item?
Craig.
I don't understand the question.
Pamela, don't lie on
Look, we met on set, and we discovered we had a lovely, budding chemistry.
Yeah.
Mia, why do you think so many people really want this to be true?
A couple of reasons. So they're both iconic for women of a certain age. I mean, I'll never get over the tragedy of Liam Neeson, whose wife, Natasha Richardson, who was a very famous actress. They were on a family skiing holiday and she fell, and it wasn't even a particularly bad accident, but she hit her head. And so that happened in, I think, 2009, and she died a couple of days later. She fell into a coma later that night and never regained consciousness. It was the saddest story. I've never stopped thinking about it. And he was a real wife guy, but before wife guy was kind of like a cheesy thing. Like he seemed like a lovely person and they seemed like they had a lovely marriage. So that was, I think, in about the early 2000s. And he's never really been linked that I can think of. I don't think he's remarried and he's never really been linked to anyone for any length of time. And then, of course, Pamela Anderson was married to Tommy Lee and then a bunch of other people, Kid Rock, and cycled through a few husbands. But she's reinvented herself as the no makeup,
Gardening,
new phase of life. There was that amazing documentary. She was nominated, I think, for a Golden Globe. So she's now considered a serious actress. And I just think it's like, two
But do you think it's legit?
I think it could be. Why not? They both seem lovely. They're both actors. They met at work. They clearly have chemistry.
I almost think if it was real, they would downplay it more.
I agree. There was I want it to be real. Marion Keyes posted about it, saying like it's so lovely seeing these two not young people falling in love and everything. And I think that's why we're really into it. But on the Today Show, they were like filmed sort of making out. I don't think you'd do that if you were in a real relationship. Let's see what you think about the next bit of my scurrilous gossip. Astronaut Katy Perry is officially single, as we know.
Yep.
And possibly auditioning for new boyfriends. Step up one, Justin Trudeau. Now, I always get him confused with Justin Theroux.
Okay, so we talked about this morning.
Not to be confused with Justin Timberlake, who is still on his
this
world
morning,
tour.
Up until 2 minutes ago, I was like, oh, this is Louis Theroux's cousin Justin, who used to be with Jennifer Aniston. Why is anyone interested in this? Like, shrug.
And also, he recently got married anyway. Justin of the Bare Arms. He recently got married. No, we're talking about the former Prime Minister of Canada.
Interesting.
This is why this is exciting. And I'd almost forgotten this, but he separated from his wife in 2023. They'd been married for 18 years. They've got 3 kids. And he's kind of been, well, as far as I know, quite low down on the dating
I
radar.
thought they'd only just split, him and his wife. I'd forgotten it was while he was still in office. But then when I was reading some of the Scurrilous gossip today about astronaut and former Prime Minister, it said that he'd broken up recently with his partner that he'd had after he was married. So he's already cycled through a rebound. And, I mean, they're both, again, age appropriate, both very good-looking people, single, no Coldplay cam cheating dramas here.
So the rumor is,
well, not the
rumor
best.
is the sneaky paparazzi pictures are them having dinner together in Montreal. Apparently they had cocktails. They enjoyed it.
Cocktails.
I know.
It wasn't a work meeting then.
Do we think it was a date, or do you think it
Yes.
was a
Of course
work
it was a
meeting?
date.
Yes, and I just love that, you know, the Orlando thing fell through. She's had a rough year.
She
Katy.
has.
She has had a rough year, and I think she went on Raya, the celebrity dating app where all the famous hot people are on.
Beautiful people.
Yeah, as you would.
Did
And
she?
she matched. This is how it went, Holly. I
think
just know it to
so.
be true. And she matched with Justin.
Yeah.
And she went, this is fine. This single life is fine.
And he didn't send her a dick pic because that's not
didn't.
how he rolls.
Justin Trudeau is on Raya?
Of course he's on Raya. How
Probably.
else did they meet? Yes, they met on Raya. They went and got a drink. I love it. I think it'll last.
I think all the very best to all 4 of them, to be honest.
I agree. They should double date. Great idea.
Ah.
Today, the Australian government announced that YouTube will be included in our world first social media ban set to take place from December. Now, to jog your memory, the Albanese government is enforcing an under 16s social media ban, with platforms facing fines of up to $50 million if they fail to take reasonable steps to stop kids opening accounts. So,
Which platforms remind me? Because I remembered that this happened and then because I don't have kids under 16 anymore, I couldn't remember if it had actually come into effect.
So happening in December, but what we know is that it's definitely TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, right?
Okay.
But YouTube
And Facebook.
and Facebook,
Not that anyone under 16,
they're not on
is
it.
using Facebook.
Facebook's like, that's absolutely fine
They
with us.
definitely want to see what their grandparents are up to.
But YouTube has always argued that it operates differently. It says that they're not a social media app. They say we're a video sharing platform. And this meant that they had this exceptional carve-out situation with the former communications minister, Michelle Rowland, saying, all right, you're exempt. We're actually going to make you exempt from this, along with Google Classroom, Kids Helplines, My Circle, which are other types of social media apps that are created to be educational and helpful, like they're purpose-driven, right? And so they went, YouTube, you're exempt. But then the new communications minister, Annika Wells, came along. And long story short, the e-safety commissioner did this survey and found that 4 in 10 children had reported exposure to harmful content on YouTube. And in this big survey that they did, where they asked a couple of thousand kids about their experiences, YouTube was the most frequently cited platform in the research in terms of harm. Here's what the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, said this morning.
Young people under the age of 16 will not be able to have accounts on YouTube. They will also not be able to have accounts on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, X, amongst other platforms. We want Australian parents and families to know that we've got your back. We know this is not the only solution and there's more to do, but it will make a difference.
Holly, can you explain to me why the YouTube ban specifically is such a big deal and is so controversial? Because I feel like broadly a lot of people have been on board and YouTube crossed a line.
I know. Can I, just as an aside, if Albo sounds, even for him, uncharacteristically like flat in that at the end of that press conference, because I was watching it. So he's bundled up in a coat. He's not looking great. And he's like, at the end of it, he literally says to all the reporters, can we just wrap this up because me and everyone in Parliament House has a really bad cold.
Oh, my God.
And it's like every workplace, in
is
the
so
world, right?
sick.
Because in Australia, I mean, right here in Mamamia, we've had so many people out with flu. Apparently, the same thing's happening there. So Albert's like, I know this is important,
That's
but
so
can we
funny.
just like hurry up?
I thought you were going to say, he's like, because I really can't answer any questions about Snapchat and TikTok.
It's true.
I don't understand it.
No, the man has a cold. But anyway, Jessie, you're right. This is big news because I'm obviously, as a parent of a 13 and a 15-year-old, I'm right in the bullseye of this. And this has been a hot topic of conversation in my house. My son, who is a precocious little bugger, has been lobbying me in the kitchen about why YouTube should not be included in this ban for 6 months.
What's his argument,
I haven't
please?
seen him today, but he's probably having a very bad morning.
He probably learned via YouTube about this
He probably did.
incredible new legislation.
So the interesting thing about this is that YouTube, as we often say, is the new TV. And studies say that 9 out of 10 American teenagers are on YouTube, probably right now, but also every day. 9 out of 10 teenagers are using YouTube. So it's enormously widespread. So people are saying it's the new TV. But the thing is, that's true, but it's not only the new TV. YouTube has YouTube Shorts, which is exactly the same as TikTok, exactly the same as Instagram Reels. And that is something that kids just watch compulsively. They also have one of the most sophisticated algorithms, as we often talk about on this show, that is geared towards extremism. So it will, of all things, when I say extremism, I don't just mean political extremism. I mean anything that you're into, it will lead you further and further and further down that rabbit hole. So it is genuinely a very, very influential force on young kids, and there is no question. The other thing that's worth noting about this, for the people who are really upset about it, is they're not going to ban YouTube Kids. So, parents all over the country and the world, well, the country because it's only Australia at the moment that are proposing this, are saying, oh my God, but I put my kids in front of YouTube all the time. That's where we watch The Wiggles. That's where we watch, I used to play the kids Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, whatever, like all those kind of, that's how you'll still be able to do all that. That's fine. Right?
Miss Rachel.
Yeah. Your YouTube Kids will exist. It's going to ban kids under 16 from having their own YouTube account. So it's not banning their eyeballs from ever seeing YouTube. They can watch it with the family. They can watch it on your account, but it stops you from having your account. And the reason that's important is my son just turned 13. And obviously he's been on quite a lot of different platforms for a few years under my account or my family account. But literally in the weeks before his 13th birthday and then on his 13th birthday, I was bombarded with emails saying, Billy, welcome. Like now you're an adult for all intents and purposes because the age limit was 13. So they're only lifting it for 3 years. So a lot of people who are losing their minds about it, it's like, think about it really.
So, but there's a huge cognitive difference between a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. But I'd be interested also to know, did he have any observations or did you see what changed in terms of the content that was being suggested to him?
Well, I didn't do it. I didn't sign him up as his own platform anyway. But for everyone from Facebook, because that's, the broader parent company and everything, send you emails, Google saying, now you can have your own account. And let's not pretend that they don't have very specific reasons for wanting you to do that. And that's all about advertising dollars.
So for people who don't know, Google own YouTube and Google. Meta own Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. TikTok is owned by the Chinese government, a company called ByteDance.
Doesn't Miranda Kerr own Snapchat?
Snapchat. Miranda Kerr's husband owns Snapchat. So that's kind of the universe.
Yeah.
I find this all so interesting and I'm back in this world because of Luna. So I'm back into kids' TV and shows again, and the place that I'm watching them is through YouTube. What's really interesting is that I was watching YouTube with Luna this week, don't tell Mum, and there are so many strict regulations around how you can advertise to children in children's programming on television. Don't seem to exist on YouTube. So we were being served ads while we were watching for all kinds of things. I mean, the fact that we're being served ads and she's 2 while we're watching clearly something aimed at a 2-year-old is revealing in itself and concerning. But the thing that people need to understand and again, I don't understand how Snapchat works. I used to, but what Snapchat is used primarily for among teenagers is messaging, less than watching videos. But
100%.
That's like their communication channel.
They send each other relentless videos all day, every day.
All day. And that's where they organise parties. It's where they talk to their friends, all of those kinds of things, in the same way, similarly, that we might use group text or WhatsApp groups. But the other thing that people need to understand is that you can watch things on TikTok. You can watch things on YouTube without having an account, without having to log in.
Actually, TikTok and Instagram, I believe that it's really, really hard to watch things if you do not have an account.
No, because until I waved the white flag and just logged in because it was easier, I had a thing where TikTok's spying on my phone, but I was like, I'm not logging in. I'm not going to give them my details. I'm just going to use it as and you can literally go in there without making an account and just, I don't just mean watch the odd thing. You can just get the full TikTok experience and the algorithm will learn you. And of course it'll try to make you have an account because then it can give you more information and then you sign, the terms and conditions mean that they can basically look at everything in your phone, which is terrific. But so this idea of gatekeeping, I get it. And the other thing that people might say, well, if on YouTube, for example, if you use the family account, because what back in the olden days, people used to say, the internet, if you just don't let kids have devices in their rooms, you have one desktop computer in the family area so everybody can see. So someone might say, okay, well, kids can use their parents' YouTube account and then at least the parents can go and look at the history. Yeah. Kids are smarter than that. They just do incognito. They just clear their browsing history, right?
But I'm very frustrated by this argument that we shouldn't try and implement these rules because kids will get around them. Because the thing is, the world is looking at Australia over this. That is not an overstatement. I listen to podcasts from America, from the UK, from all over the world where they say everybody is looking at Australia to see if we can pull this off because it is the first strike back in any way, really, in any form, really, against, we would largely say the big tech companies. We know that there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that their proliferation over the past decade has affected the mental and physical health of young people. It has, right?
Yeah.
And so there is nothing wrong with wanting to then tinker with those rules. It might not be perfect. You're not going to mean that no young person will ever see a TikTok video ever again, or you won't be able to get around it. But it's the same thing as saying the legal drinking age is 18. I know this has become a cliched argument, but that doesn't mean that no 15-year-olds ever drink beer in the park. But it means that the community standard is, and the law is, until you're 18, you're not legally allowed to do it. And that sets a community standard that generally I think the government are right in saying that parents want it, because I think, I know this makes me sound pathetic, but it's easier for me to be able to say to my son, this is the law. Like, it's not about you and
pathetic.
me.
I think that's incredibly helpful. Like you say, put your seatbelt on or the police will come and arrest you. That's always a handy thing to tell your kids.
I have seen a lot of backlash to this and I went deep on it and I could not support this move more. So what it means, if you do not have your own YouTube account, you cannot comment and you cannot post. Great. I think that if you looked at a lot of the trolling or all that kind of stuff, if you're a 13 or 14-year-old who doesn't understand consequences, your brain's not fully developed, I don't think that's particularly helpful, especially at a time when we're looking at child labour laws and having children's faces all over the internet. So I think that's a really positive thing. And for YouTube to say that they are a video platform when they are led by an algorithm. Interestingly, last month, the New York Times did this big piece about how YouTube has basically thrown out a lot of their moderation policies. Very similar to Meta. You know how Meta had their fact checking? Under a Trump government, they've kind of gone, you know what? We are going to prioritise freedom of expression over harm.
In fact, Trump's demanded that they do that.
Yes. So if I have whether they're 5 or 15 on YouTube and that's what's being prioritised, I also wanted to go deep on, give me examples of the harmful content. What are we talking? And what we're talking is, let's say you have a child who really sometimes they watch games, really innocent games.
Endlessly.
Yeah. Well, then it goes straight to weapons Like, do you want to watch someone shoot a gun? You've got
gambling ads.
You've got weight loss, stuff about weight loss. You've got stuff about mental illness. You've got stuff about like skin bleaching, like just all of these things that – and I think that the point that if it was on our television, firstly, there's an expectation of what is broadcast at 7 p.m. on, network television.
Yeah. And there are standards and there are censors and government regulations and advertising standards,
Generally it's happening in the living room where like most of you might discuss it. But the idea that your child could be privately what you think they're watching, what they are watching are not the same thing.
Yeah. What's important to understand for some listeners might not really understand the way that the term social media platform has changed, because social media platform, as many people think of it, was you go on Facebook, you post some photos of your holiday, you say what you're doing today, you might share a link to something, you follow your friends, they follow you. That's not what TikTok is, and it's not what Snapchat is really, and it's not what Instagram is anymore, and it's not what YouTube is. So what they have become is, as you say, television channels, and I do agree with what they say about that. They are entertainment channels.
Yes, but
But that's not to say they shouldn't be unregulated.
But also they're not only entertainment channels. That's what I think.
The algorithm is different.
There is some pushback, and I definitely understand it, that says there's a lot of great stuff on YouTube. There's a lot of great stuff on TikTok. There's a lot of great stuff for different communities, and that's absolutely true, right? You know, a lot of parents of neurodiverse kids will talk about how their kids have sort of found their tribes there, understood their conditions better, so many different things, and that's all true. But I don't think this ban takes that away.
I don't know.
Like my son, who loves, for example, animation, he watches lots of amazing animators on YouTube. And it's very exciting, like, to see what they're doing and for him to get inspired. He can still do that without having his own dedicated account that he's, using in private. Also, those people will find different ways to surface their content if it's appropriate for kids. Like, I think it's really interesting how I think we can catastrophize it a bit and say, well, all the good things will get thrown out. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
And there was there's been a lot of parents, as you say, of kids who might have ADHD or autism and really heavily rely on YouTube. But as you say, you can absolutely still use it. I thought that Julie Inman Grant, who is the E-Safety Commissioner, she did this National Press Club address last month. She had the best analogy about water safety, and she said that Australia are world leaders, and we're on the global stage, people are in awe of what Australia did with water safety. And it started with a mix of regulations, then education and community participation. And she said, you're at the beach and parents keep a watchful eye on your kids in the ocean, but they're quietly confident in the knowledge that their kids will be okay, not because the ocean is safe, but because we've learned how to live beside it. And I thought that was so true, because even the pool fence, right? You can go –
and flags at the beach.
Yeah, but like a pool fence, you go, well, they could open the pool fence. My child loves a pool. And it's like,
so what's the point of pool fences?
Yeah, exactly.
They could just bring a chair.
Yeah.
What I like is what you said, Holly, earlier about this idea of because something's not perfect, we shouldn't do it, or because there are ways around it, we shouldn't do it. I think what it says, even if it's a mirage, it says that we acknowledge in our society that there is a level of potential harm and a level of potential maturity required to deal with the unfiltered mass of an algorithm and content, in the same way that, yes, alcohol can be consumed safely and it will be consumed illegally, but we acknowledge that there's a certain age where you can handle it and driving a car. And I think it's the same thing. And you're right. The world is watching us, and that's why the potential downside of this, or something to be aware of, is that the tech platforms could make an example of us, and they could, I don't think this is going to happen, but they could say, right, we're out of Australia.
Because they don't want to make that technology that says,
you're right,
how old is my
user. Because the onus is on them to actually, the government said, you need to work out how to do this. And of course they know how to do this. They know how to age gate. And there will be complaints about the way they do it or whatever, but that doesn't mean we don't try.
The stomping of the feet of the tech companies, I think, is probably indicative of how lucrative young people are to their business model, which I am personally not comfortable with.
Makes me think it's a good idea.
I have a question I've been meaning to ask you two, my ever so slightly older friends.
Oh.
Mia, we went to Nikki Glaser recently and there was this whole bit that she did. She's currently in perimenopause. And she did this whole...
Is she?
Yeah.
Holy
yeah. I think
smokes.
she might be like mid-40s or something.
Yeah, she's like 43.
She did this whole bit about how what she didn't expect, what no one warned her, was that the discharge would stop, right? And she said that every now and then...
Holly and I both just look up going,
What she talks about is that it's quite irregular now. So she'll be out ordering a coffee and it's just like... and she gets a little octopus who's inking, like a little spot of discharge, and she almost wants to jar it.
because she feels affectionate.
Affectionate, and she wants to keep it like on a shelf.
It's all leaking out
Because
and it's finite and then it's gone.
Ladies,
No.
is our discharge finite? Because I was not warned.
It is. I repeat, Ruth is literally looking like she's trying to stop herself from throwing up.
Do you know what? I haven't thought about that.
I think
but
we
it
found
is.
her line.
Things get dry.
And so it just
And irregular and sometimes a lot and sometimes she's right.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it either, but it's true. Sometimes a lot and sometimes not at all.
do you feel like nostalgic?
Do you know when you have your most discharge actually is when you are ovulating?
Yes.
Because that's when it becomes that egg whitey.
Yeah,
and there's a
can't
type
believe-
of contraception called the Billings method where you go like that, you've got to put it between two fingers, and if it's stretchy like egg white, then you're fertile.
Okay, what
'Cause
does
they can swim in
stretchy
it.
like? That's not
Well, if
referring
you
to the
go like
colour.
that-
That's referring
no,
to the
stretchy. So literally, if you take it
Viscous.
between two fingers and go like this, and it stretches,
then you're
then that's-
ovulating.
Then like an egg white would, then you're ovulating,
Like
and
a
it's
mucusy?
time if you want to make a baby, or it's not time if you don't want to make a baby.
Remember we talked about that in
Yeah.
the subs episode we
Yes.
did about fertility and how
Yeah.
it was an old man who explained that to me once.
And that's what a
Yes.
lot of religious people or people that can't
Yes, that's the man
don't
who
believe
yelled
it. You
to
know,
Holly.
the Billings method. It's well known. Roger Billings.
I don't know, Bill who
Phil?
lives down the road.
So
don't
do
know.
you think that we should all just feel a little bit more kind of warmth and like protection of our discharge, because we go, you're not going to be here one day and I'm going to
You
miss
miss it when
you.
you go on. You know, we talk about the first and the lasts. You don't realise the lasts until they're behind you. Till you're washing your knickers and you're like, oh, they're quite clean, aren't they?
Basically, as you're leaking juice at all times. Hold on to your juice,
Look,
ladies.
as one
Juicy as
day,
you get older.
It's
Yeah.
going to all
Enjoy
just...
it. Enjoy your juice.
It was only a matter of time before Let Them had a bit of a punk rock makeover. Meet FAFO, which stands for Fuck Around and Find Out. And it is everywhere you look at the moment, particularly in parenting speak, but not only, which we'll get into. Maybe also once known as Play Stupid Games, Win Stupid Prizes. What FAFO is all about is embracing the natural consequences of your actions. So the parenting gurus who have embraced it are saying helicoptering, snow plowing, gentle parenting, basically the past couple of decades of parenting trends towards remove any negative experience, smooth the path for your kids, try and make sure they avoid any minor accident or inconvenience or disappointment has, as we've been reading about for a long time now, screwed everything up. Better FAFO. So in parenting world, this would look like, for example, kid doesn't want to wear a coat, kid gets cold. Kid doesn't like what's for dinner, kids get no dinner. Kid insists on climbing tree, kid breaks arm.
Which is all fun until you've got to take them to the emergency
I know.
room and no one wants to be there.
So although FAFO at the minute is very big in parenting circles, been around a long time and has a whole lot of applications, I can think of people in my life who are definitely more FAFO than others. So
So if you're FAFO, does it mean
High risk
you're
appetite.
kind of like, try me.
okay?
You know what I mean? So a friend of mine who isn't afraid of confrontation, right? If you're afraid of confrontation, you're not going to be FAFO. So actually, even though I've said I kind of like it in theory, I hate confrontation.
Yeah.
Because if you're FAFO, you're kind of like, try me. You know, you can.
Interesting.
It's that idea of like, I'm not going to tell you can't, but if you do, you'll know about it. We've all know parents in our world who have been like that, our own parents
Yeah.
or people in our world who are very much, you wouldn't want to test them. They would make you pay for it. You know what I mean? We all know people like that, right?
Different people have different capacity to assess risk. So that idea of fuck around and find out, some people might not even be aware that they're fucking around. Like some people might be like, yeah, no, this is not a risk. I can do this. It's fine. And others might just be, like they're quite risk averse.
It feels a little bit very individualistic and very antagonistic. Like everyone's kind of your enemy. Like you're kind of waiting for everyone to cross you.
It's not very kumbaya.
It's not very kumbaya and it's not very collective. I liked the translation from a parent that was out feral their feral. So when they become feral and do something, there was one example of I think it was in the Washington Post article where their child kept spraying them with a water gun and they were going, don't spray me. And they did it again and just threw them in the pool just to be like, you've annoyed me. So here's the consequence. And it's like you haven't hurt the kid, but the kid knows I've annoyed mum and now I'm all wet. Look, there's an element of this that starts veering a little bit into
Neglect
or like having quite a physical response to discipline, which when we edge back towards smacking, I start to get a little bit nervous.
Oh, no, I thought more it was the natural consequences, not you're going to get, I'm going to belt you if you do that, because I agree. It's not like I suppose it could be the consequences of me intervening in a negative way, but I'm more like the natural consequences. I'm not going to intervene and you see what happens when you don't get a jacket.
Classic example for older kids would be you forget to take your trumpet homework.
We both went to
lunches,
brass instruments,
whatever, to school.
Yeah.
And you going to get in trouble.
Oh, no, I can't bear it.
Let them get in trouble or do you get yourself out of a work meeting, organise yourself to get to where they're going to
Funny
intervene?
you should say that. So I was in a group chat, one of my kids' group chats at one point, and every afternoon, they're in primary school, every afternoon some parents would come in and say, Johnny forgot his homework. What is the homework for this afternoon? Or can someone tell me, can someone photograph the page in the maths book? And it was just every afternoon this would happen. And these were not little kids. These were not 6-year-olds. These were like 11-year-olds. And it was different kids all the time. But at one point I just lost it. And I said in the group chat, how about we let the kids deal with the consequences if they don't remember their homework? Silence. I think the class made a different group chat.
Somebody kicked me out of the group chat.
I wonder if parenting styles are sometimes evolve in response to the world we live in, right? Because there was the 90s and early 2000s, there was almost a real sense of safety. People were doing well financially kind of before the GFC, that kind of thing. There was this kind of, even now we look back at a bit of a utopia, right? And now, broadly speaking, the world feels really unsafe from everything from climate change to conflict to post-COVID to
just
politics,
the internet,
all of
algorithms.
It. I wonder if it's like to prepare your child for the world today, we've got to let them fuck around and find out.
So in workplaces, for example, people talk about the nanny state and what you are and aren't allowed to post, what you are and aren't allowed to do in a workplace. And for example, if you talk to anyone who works in HR, they say that the emphasis of HR now is not as much on physical safety, like, making sure everyone's got a chair that's okay for their back and doesn't trip over a cord, and it's more on mental safety. So that's an example of how sort of legislation and our society is kind of stepping in.
And I suppose that born out of the helicopter parenting thing is that we don't believe that there have been apt consequences for bad behaviour. So Elon Musk, who I just feel like, I don't know, is at the centre of every story, popularised this term quite recently. So if you remember, few years ago, Kanye West was on Twitter. He posted something probably anti-Semitic, something that aligned him with Nazism, and sort of dared Elon Musk to take him off, right? And when Elon Musk ultimately, I think it was actually an ugly photo of Elon Musk that made Elon take him off. But when he did, he said, fuck around and find out. Like his whole thing was just like, do what you want, but you're going to find out.
Don't push me.
Yeah, don't push me.
It says do what you want, but there will be consequences. And the thing is I think that's fuck around and find out is literally in relationships. Like you can fuck around. But you will find out pretty quickly
Coldplay
whether
CEO.
or not your partner is going to put up with that. You can be late for work, but your boss will probably be mad with you. You can eat shit every day, but you might feel terrible. Like, it's that thing of you're free
Accountability?
to do whatever you want, but there will be consequences. I like it because you know how I am I don't like fences, but I'm a people pleaser. So it's like, if you tell me I have to do something, it gets my back up. But if I know that, well, I'm free to do whatever I want, but as an adult human being with agency, I have to accept that the things I do will have action, will have reactions, will have consequences. It's not rules imposed on me. It's me saying, well, I could do that, but then this will happen.
Urban Dictionary put it as cause and effect, but spicier. And I feel like that's very true. It's like, fuck around and find out because ? Because you actually don't fully know what the consequences will be,
But what
which is
about
kind of
in
how
this,
the world
in
operates.
this internet age where the consequences can be so outsized of doing something or making a mistake? What about that? Like, are the consequences are they always justified?
Well, yeah, I think that's actually at the core of it, is that ultimately this is a threat. This is a threat that we all have to live with all the time.
Yeah, it's true. And that is right. It's like people say you can't say anything anymore. Well, you can, but you know what will happen if you do.
Yeah.
So it is a threat that's used to keep people in line in some ways. Like, it's sort of a bit of a tilt, an authoritarian tilt. But it's also, and I think that's also why the libertarians kind of like it, because they're sort of like, as I was just saying, like, I'm free to do what I want, but there will be consequences. It can be used in all those different forms, right? Yes, you can say whatever you want, but don't be surprised if a lot of people don't like it.
There's an inherent brutality to it. I just think that that's reflective of the moment we find ourselves in, the mood, which is just kind of like no more warm and fuzzies. Like, the world is a hard place and you should know and learn that every single day.
Out Louders, that's all we've got time for today. A massive thank you to all of you, as always, and to our very talented team for putting it together.
We'll be back in your ears tomorrow, but on Friday's show, I've got some news. I am going back to university.
You can't say back if you never went in the
I
first
did
place.
go.
You went for 2 days.
I don't know why
No.
I'm laughing, because maybe she is.
Oh, she's okay.
I know, I love that your response is laughing. Am I going back to university, Out Louders, or is there something else to tell you? Find out on Friday's show.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.